Hi guys, welcome back to the Codefreak channel. Freak out as you code. So in the last tutorial we learned about the variables. I hope you have answered the questions. We'll discuss all the answers for the questions in a video which will be separately made after a few of these videos. So now in this video you will be learning about data types. So there are 8 different types of data types which are generally used in JavaScript. So I'll name them out for you. The first one is number, then the second one is called big int, the third one is strings, the fourth one is boolean, the fifth one is the null value, the sixth one is the undefined value, and the seventh one is the objects, and then you have the last one which is the symbols. We will try to look at all of them in some amount of detail, all right, and then some of them we'll have to look at it later on because they are not applicable right now. All right, perfect. So in the last tutorial you would have seen that when we created a variable, we had assigned some number to it or some letters group of letters like hello world, right? So they are some things which are stored, right? So data type, you can actually understand it, you can understand the word data type from its word itself, right? So data type, so it says what is the type of data that is being stored in the variable. That's what is data type. Okay, so let's look into the first data type, that is number. A number type represents both integer and floating point numbers. In the sense it represents integers like 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1, minus 2, all those are integers, and floating point numbers are nothing but decimal point numbers, which maybe 1.23 minus 2.35, something like that. So they are all examples of numbers. All right. There are many operations, for example like multiplication, addition, division, subtraction, and so on, which you can actually see with respect to the numbers. There are so-called special numeric values which also belong to this data type. So they are infinity, minus infinity, and nan. So these are other 3 data types. So in the numbers as such, you have any numbers, integers or decimals, and you also have some special characters like infinity, minus infinity, and nan. Okay, so now maybe I'll create a variable. Called let, and I'll name it my number. So no gaps, my number. Perfect. And let me give it a value of 10. All right, so this is a way of creating a variable whose data type is number. So if you want to know the type of the variable as such, you can use this function which is pre-built, which is called type of. So type of my number. All right, so you can see that the output is number. So number is the data type of my number variable. All right, so now let's move on to the second data type which we will learn, that is big int. So in JavaScript, the number type cannot represent integer values that are larger than 2 power 53 minus 1. So that is something like I'll put in the number here so you can look at it as to how big it is. 90071992547409991. So that big the number is, or even less than minus 2 power 53 minus 1. So even the negatives part also. So it has a range as such. So it's a technical limitation caused by their internal representation. So that is something which is technical. For most purposes it's kind of enough. Yeah, it's a very huge number, but there are some operations where you need to look into microsecond precision timestamps or cryptography. So these are some places which actually use really big numbers. So there's one thing you need to keep in mind with respect to big int, that is you have to put an n at the end of the number, stating that you have actually finished writing the number. All right, so let's create a constant variable called my big int. All right, so I'll equate it to some number, maybe 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4. Oh shit, yeah, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. All right, and then let me put an n at the end. So that is a big int variable. So if I try to actually use this same number here and then assign it to a normal variable or a number as such, let's see what happens. All right, so I'll just give it the name C and then equate it. Okay, let's console.log C. Yeah, let's do that. So you can see that it was kind of stopped at some digit here. So yeah, so this is how you can see that there is a difference between this. Let me just do console.log. Let me do that for my big int, yeah. So just enter. So now you can see actually you got the full number. So that is the difference between big int and number data types. So we have learned two data types here. So now let's look into the third data type, that is called string. So string is a set of characters or set of letters, all right, which is put inside double quotes or single quotes or tilde. I'll show you all the three types of using strings. All right. So let's make a string. So for that, again we'll make a variable let. I'll call it a string1. So put the double quotes, and then you can put any letters there or any numbers or anything, any characters. For let's make it through a second way, that is using single quotes. String2. Let me use the single quotes. I'll put hi there. All right, so this is also valid. So let me use the third way, that is let's make a variable called string3, and then let me use this. So this is the button on top of tab. All right, so that is the tilde kind of thing. So hi there. So yeah, so that's also another way of doing it. Perfect. So these are the three ways you can do it. There is actually no difference between these two, the first two ways, or the double quotes and single quotes are simply quotes. By the way, there is no practical difference between them. But the backticks have an extended functionality. They allow us to embed variables and expressions into a string when you wrap them into a dollar and a curly brackets thing. Okay, so let's see it through an example. So let me do let string, okay, equal to, so let me use this, and then let me type in I am, and then let me use the dollar symbol, let me use the curly brackets, and then let me type in there string3. Okay, string3, and then let me close the brackets, put the backtick again, and then yeah, now let's see what happens. Let me just do console.log st. All right, let's see. So you can see I am hi there. So you can actually add this particular string, or you use a variable here, or you can even do operations as such. So let me show you that. All right, I'll just copy this, and then I'll paste it here, and then I can do 2 plus 3 or something like that also. So 2 plus 3. Yeah, let me just let's make it st1 so that we don't get any error. Yeah, all right. So let me again do console.log and make it st1 again. So you can see you got I am 5, 2 plus 3. Perfect. So that's how that's the extended functionality of the backticks. You can call functions and you can embed variables. So this is how we embedded variables, and you can even put in expressions. So I've showed you how to embed a variable and also put in expressions when you are using strings. All right, so you have to use the backticks for that. Else you can just use single quotes or double quotes. There is actually no practical difference between both of them. All right, so that is what is a string. So now let's move on to the third data type. So before we move on, let me just clear this screen. All right, yeah. So let's move on to the third data type, that is called the Boolean. So Boolean type has only two values, true or false. So a Boolean value can be a result of comparisons, or can be a result of whether something is there in the variable or not also. So let's look into what a Boolean variable is. So let me create a variable. So let me name it u, and then let's put it equal to true. All right, so that's a Boolean variable. So let's check it out by using type of function. All right, So you can see you got Boolean there. Alright, so that's how it works. Now let us go to the fifth type, that is the null value. The special null value doesn't belong to any of these types as such, which we have talked previously. So it forms a separate type of its own which contains a null value. Okay, so actually if you look into some other programming languages like C++ and other languages, you use words like null pointer or pointing to a null or a reference to a non-existing object. These are the terms which are used with respect to null in other programming languages like C++. But in this particular language, that is JavaScript, we don't have any such thing. So null is a separate data type as such which stores the null value in it. Alright, so that's it. So you can actually even assign the same way, you can actually assign null to any variable also. So let me just put that and then put equal to null. Yeah, so now let's go to the next data type, that is it's just a value like null, so it's undefined value. You can already see it here. So if nothing is assigned to a variable, or if a value is not assigned to a variable, then what happens is it stores undefined in it. So if a variable is declared but not assigned, then it stores undefined in it. That's it. So if I just let me just do that. So let me do that. Okay, so let me just do console.log a for, or let me just do type of, so that will actually help out. Type of a, so you can see it shows undefined. Perfect. So that is the next one. So now let's go back to something more interesting, that's the object and symbols. So all other data types as such which we have learned till now are primitive, because these values can contain only one single thing, like a string or a number or whatever, like a true or false, stuff like that. But in contrast to that, we have objects which can be a combination of strings, numbers, and whatever you want. Maybe like you want to store data of, say, a car, right? So how many wheels does a car have? 4 wheels. So that's a number. Then maybe you want to say what is the name of the car, what's the type of the car, does it use petrol or diesel, stuff like that. So those are in those places you use a string, right? And you want to store all of them in one particular entity, so then you use objects. All right, so that's what objects are. We will learn about it later. So now we'll go to the next and the last data type, that is symbol. This is also something which we will learn later, but let me just give a brief introduction. The symbol type is used to create unique identifiers for objects. So do it later. So now let me put in a question for you here. So now try to solve this question and put the answer in the comments below. I'm going to reply to you personally if your answer is correct. All right. So yeah, just take a look at the question. Okay. So let me know the output in the comment section below. Bye bye guys. That's it for today's video. Let's come back and meet in the next video for more JavaScript. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.